Hi YouTubers, Active Asshole on Pills here to discuss an issue that has been on every civil activist's mind for decades. Today, I'm going to take aim at the right-wing's seemingly shallow hypocrisy regarding their support for democracy. Now, before I get started, let me make it clear that I'm well aware that I'm opening one hell of a can of worms when I throw this out there. However, before any right troll starts popping his mouth off at me about leveling scurrilous accusations, I'm going to say that this video is aimed at the entire conservative lexicon, running the gamut of rightist ideology from neocon Austro-economist to sovereign citizen movement types, just the whole shebang. So yes, I am painting with a wide brush and with good reason. It's not called an accusation if there are enough fuckers on your side that actually do this. Alright? Okay. You often hear conservatives, libertarians, all those good people, flapping their gums about left-wing conspiracies to take over America and all that such nonsense. They even call the Democratic Party the Democrat Party to hammer the age-old accusation that we don't value small d democracy, which, personally, I don't see how calling the Democratic Party the Democrat Party really is the same thing as taking aim at the American left. I mean, I know liberals have some influence within the progressive caucus, but, you know, the Blue Dogs and the DLC corporatists from the 1980s pretty much watered down our capacity to use the Democratic Party as a venue through which to push Keynesian economics and liberal policy. But oh well, they hypocritically turn a blind eye to their own subtle and not so subtle anti-democratic shenanigans in doing these things. Take the age-old trope trumpeted by American libertarians and Austrian scholars about democracy being two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. These are asshats who constantly complain about ballot access laws keeping their libertarian third party off the ballot and bitch incessantly about the lack of choices on the ballot come election day, and yet, current activities by them in the Republican presidential primary. Many rightist libertarians, Paul Bots, had no problem pulling a number of stunts in the hopes of subverting the democratic process within their primary. Not like Republicans are really good with numbers anyway. They can't even get their own vote count issues taken care of in places like Minnesota and stuff. But I digress. Likewise, the rightist militia movement, which consists of the Quiverful movement. There's a lot of overlap between the militia movement and the religious right, but yeah, so sue me. The rightist militia movement, it consists of the Quiverful movement, the Christian identity movement, those fuckers who believe that Jews that Semitic people are not the real Jews, and that white Anglo-Saxons from America are the real Jews, those nut jobs. The sovereign citizens movement, again, the posse commodities and all those fuckers, those Timothy McVeigh lovers and Turner Diary readers. The neo-Nazis, again, a lot of overlap between sovereign citizens and, well, you get it. The Klan, the John Birch Society, whom Sarah Palin and Ron Paul are members of, but oh well. Something that's often lost on a lot of these fuckers. The Oath Keepers, founded by that, what's-his-face, who was an ex-aide of Ron Paul. And the Christian nationalist third party called the Constitution Party. They show little to no concern for our country. They showed little to no concern for our country's Constitution when Bush was figuratively using our nation's legal document for toilet paper. As soon as it appeared that Barack Obama was likely going to be our next president in November 2008, the Koch brothers geared up for astroturfing on steroids and poured over $200 million into a group that they and Dick Armey, the former congressman from Texas, Dick Armey, Republican congressman from Texas, founded, that they named Freedom Works. This group went on to organize the Tea Party Express after the election had ended. Yeah, you know the history. According to the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, at the local and rank and file level of the American right, this country saw a 700%, get it, 700% increase in the membership of militia and racist groups in reaction to our first non-Caucasian president. There was also a massive increase in militia violence, not seen in this country since the 1990s. In the 2010 midterm elections, we had politicians and public figures like Sharon Angle and Sarah Palin calling for Second Amendment remedies. You know, a lot of these, you know, this is the thing though. A lot of these fuckers like to talk about how they're all pro Second Amendment and all that. You know, well, of course they're pro Second Amendment, but how they're all pro democracy and everything, and yet, if they were really pro democracy, they wouldn't be calling for the armed killings of the loyal opposition as soon as the election is over, just because they don't like the fucking results from the election. Let me turn on a light. Again, you can't call yourself pro-democratic when you're just going to turn around as soon as you don't get the results you want from an election and call for the violent overthrow of your country's government. I'm sorry to say this, but your idea of democracy is shallow, people. You right-wingers don't know the first fucking thing about democracy. You know, the guys who called themselves conservatives back in the days of King George III were loyalists. The folks who were conservatives back in the 1800s, they only cared about democracy as far as it applied to people who were propertied white slave-owning men. You know, you push this garbage that you somehow believe in democracy, and yet you don't even believe in applying it here in this country. You know, and yet you have the gall to go off to third world countries during your little wars of choice, and claim that you have a mandate to promote democracy in third world countries, when in reality you're after their natural resources. But oh well. The religious right also has an influential anti-pluralist faction that calls for the abolition of separation of church and state. Dominionists and Christian Reconstructionists want to relegate non-evangelicals to second-class citizenship, as well as women and black churches. You know, their membership. You know, it's just it boggles the mind how the American right, how you conservatives. Yeah, I'm pretty much talking to you conservatives, but I'm also, you know, I'm trying to talk to a wide audience here. Okay, all right. You claim you're all about democracy, and historically you've shown no real democratic small d values. In the 1930s, conservative paramilitary forces geared up to overthrow the United States government just because FDR won the presidential election. I believe it was 1932 that he won the presidential election. God, I need to go back and read my history, my dates again. But after FDR and the Democratic Congress and Senate, heavily Democratic Congress and Senate, got elected to power, and the New Deal coalition was ushered into to power in this country, you saw disgruntled rightists like the Silver Shirt Legions, the American Liberty League, the American Legionnaires, whose president back in the 1920s said that he wanted to do the same thing to America that Benito Mussolini did to Italy. But you know, they all got together and they did what they could to install a fascist regime. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, and Goodyear Tire pegged a man by the name of Major General Smedley Butler, to lead this coup d'etat against the United States government. They saw the profits they got that their right-wing industrialist counterparts in Germany and Italy and Spain got from having that kind of absolute power, of having their particular quasi-dictator in power in those states. And they wanted to do it here. Thankfully, however, Smiley Butler cared just enough about his country that he came forward, and there were congressional hearings on the matter, though nothing was done about it. Except there was a crackdown by J. Edgar Hoover upon pro-fascist right-leaning groups, many of which, after the war, went and joined the John Birch Society and the Posse Comitatus and other groups, but that's another story. Now, again, you can't claim to be pro-democracy when half of your fucking number don't give two shits about democracy. You can't claim to be pro-democracy when half of your fucking rank-and-file grassroots people, as soon as they lose an election, they want to pull out a gun and shoot people that disagree with them. You can't claim to believe in democracy when you don't even believe in giving the common courtesy of being called the loyal opposition to the loyal opposition. We never did this shit to you. We never turned around and called you enemies of America. We didn't like your policies, or initially, we didn't like your policies. We thought you were a bunch of social, and rightfully so, we believe you're a bunch of social Darwinistic jackasses. But you know what? We never questioned your citizenship. We never questioned your loyalty to the country. But oddly enough, you seem to have no problem with throwing this garbage at us. You don't believe we're the loyal opposition. And I think a lot of it, I think we can blame Ronald Reagan for a lot of this crap when he started taking aim at, when he was taking aim at the Soviet Union, he was simultaneously taking aim at the moderate left as well. You know, unions and the social democrats in Western Europe. You know, it's... But again, give us the you know, you bring this on yourself, buddies. You bring this on yourself. You throw out this bullshit about believing in democracy, and yet you're anti-pluralist down to a T. And that's all I have to say.